Okay, that is different. That is different. Okay, that was good. That's pretty fucking cool. Hey there everyone, hope you're all doing well, hope you're all having a lovely day, evening or afternoon. We are back with another Steam demo first impressions video. This is Hell Is Us. It's developed by Rogue Factor and published by Nacon. Hell Is Us is a sort of semi-Souls-like action sort of adventure game with this very weird sort of, I want to say like a Death Stranding kind of vibe. The second I saw it, I definitely thought like a Death Stranding inspired kind of atmosphere, but it's also got the slight bit of investigation elements, what made me think of Atomfall, actually. Now, Hell Is Us takes place in a fictional sort of European country that's being caught up in a civil war, and these supernatural elements start sort of bleeding into reality as these weird demons that may or may not be a part of some prophecy start like coming up and killing people. You play as this guy who is voiced by Elias Tufexis. I think I'm pronouncing that name correctly. Probably most well known for his work in the Deus Ex games as Adam Jensen. Now, this guy is smuggling his way, or has smuggled his way, into this country that's going through civil war and is attempting to find his mother, or his parents in general, I believe. Now, Hell Is Us plays like a Souls-like. It has taken inspirations from probably every well-known or well-received Souls-like that I can think of. It's got some parrying mechanics from Sekiro that are fairly lenient. I would say it took a bit of practice to get used to the timing, but once you get it down, it's fairly forgiving. If you get a perfect parry, you can almost instantly execute an enemy. There are some enemies where you have to get 2 perfect parries, so instead of there being like a bar that builds up, it's more like little brackets. Most average enemies have 1 little bracket, and then you perfect parry once and then you're good, and then some stronger enemies have 2 brackets, so you perfect parry twice and then you're good. You can execute them. But what really shakes things up is the linked enemies. I found if anything in this game was challenging, it was that. The linked enemies. Some enemies will have this link where they will shoot a weird spiky glowing entity out of their body, and you won't be able to do any damage to the actual enemy itself until that thing is defeated. Once that thing is defeated, the actual enemy itself, you can actually hurt it now. However, it's for a very short period of time because that thing is going to shoot out again, and while that thing is shot out, both enemies can still attack you, so it becomes a little bit of a sing and dance, maybe just primarily a dance, a cha-cha between you and the enemies. You've got this little drone on your back that has abilities that you can use and send out. However, in the demo, you only have one ability, and that's the distraction ability. So I found the best thing is once this entity has been shot out, you distract the primary enemy, pick up the entity, and then go for the primary enemy, and that was kind of my tactic. Now, in regards to the Souls-likeness of this game, I don't even know if you can really call this game an RPG. There's no real level up system. There's no experience points. When you die, there is an option for death penalty, but it is off by default, and I never really tried it out. I never turned it on. However, the thing that does level up is your weapons. The more enemies you defeat with your weapons, it builds up like weapon experience, and you can level up your weapons like that. They'll level up, automatically once you reach the threshold. And in the demo, you get these really cool dual axe things, as well as a sort of basic sword. I'm a sucker for glowing weapons. I was absolutely in love with Sting from The Hobbit for the longest time as a kid. So when I saw this sword, I was basically like, okay, I'm using this the entire game. But the axes themselves were pretty cool as well because they attack significantly faster. However, they do less damage. When I first actually picked up the combat of the game, I was umming and ahhing about whether or not I actually enjoyed it. I wasn't really sure until a good half hour into having fought enemies. And so towards the end of the demo, the combat actually started clicking with me because I wasn't sure about the animations and the wind up of the sword specifically. There is one thing that I'm really liking about this game, and it is a very basic thing that you would think would be in any game, especially a Souls-like, and that is what I'm calling like animation queuing or action queuing, in which you press the attack button twice and your character's gonna attack twice. It's gonna queue up that second action in the middle of the first action, and it'll queue up the third action in the middle of the second action kind of thing. Now, you would think this is in most games, games, but the most recent thing I can actually compare it to is Steel Rising. I've been playing a lot of Steel Rising by Spiders recently, and they don't have this. You have to time your attacks right at the end of the animation in order to get a consistent combo going. This game does have the animation or action queuing, and it makes combat feel a lot smoother and a lot more responsive because you can also block and parry almost in between the animations. Now, there is a slight elephant in the room when it comes to Hell Is Us. Many people have been saying this game is a performance hog and it is really heavy on your GPU and your system in general. And I think this stems from the very weird system requirements that this game has. When it released, they showed off this thing saying that like you could only get 30 FPS 4K with upscaling on a 5090 or something along those lines. And that set a lot of people off. They were thought that it was crazy that you're paying this amount of money for a 5090 and you can only, get X amount of frames when you should be in the hundreds at 4K and stuff like that. But I personally found that playing on my system, which is an RTX 3060 with the Ryzen 5 5600, if I set the game up to high and put DLSS on balanced at 1440p, I could get between 50 and 70 FPS. And with a VRR display, I found that to be perfect. But your miles may vary, and of course it is dependent on your system as well and how you can sort of put up with lower frame rates and stuff like that. It's not perfect, but I really don't think it is the worst optimized game in 2025. There have been significantly worse optimized games this year. The one thing I can sing this game's praises for is it is the first Unreal Engine 5 game that I have played with practically no stutter. I think my entire 2 hours of the demo I played had maybe 2 stutters, and I can pinpoint the exact first one was when you enter that first dungeon. But that was it. It had virtually no stutter. It was an incredibly smooth experience. If you can get a consistent frame rate, then it is going to be smooth sailing for you. Another thing I found is that the difficulty, it wasn't really too hard. I turned it up to the harder difficulty mode, and I found that that was more of an appropriate difficulty. Maybe that's just because it's early stages in the game, but I did find that it wasn't too difficult. There were moments where I died. I think I died twice in the demo, and I found that the harder difficulty felt more like a normal difficulty. But that is coming from somebody who plays a lot of Soulslikes, but I wouldn't particularly say that I'm really good at them either, so it really does depend. And in combat, the game really emphasizes aggression, I found. It has a key pulse system like in Neo, but instead of pulsing for stamina, you pulse for health, which kind of seems to emphasize taking risks in combat for me. Meaning like you play aggressively and you can have a chance to heal, but if you back up too much, you're going to lose that chance and lose that ability to heal. And you might not be able to get it until you get to your next enemy, and then that next enemy might kick your ass. So I do find that system also emphasizes more aggressive actions during combat. All in all, I'm absolutely in love with the vibe of this game. I'm genuinely excited. Ever since I saw like the first trailer and the first bit of gameplay, I was 100% keen. I really want to know where this game is going to go. I'm interested in the story. I'm interested in the world. I want to know more about why the Civil War is happening and what the two countries and the two peoples are at odds for and why they're fighting and all of that. I'm seeing a little bit of this like World War I kind of vibe in it. Not in the aesthetics, but more in the way the story is being told. Maybe that's just me though. But yeah, absolutely love this. Genuinely looking forward to it. The game even runs on a Steam Deck, so I don't think there's any reason not to check out Hell Is Us, the demo, and then if you enjoyed it, go give it a wish list. It'll support the developers a lot. I'm really happy that we're seeing more of these AA games because I feel like nowadays AA games have become so much, I don't want to say easier to make, but back in the day you could see these insane graphics. I say back in the day, I mean like 10 years ago. You could see insane graphics coming from your AAA games. Your AA games kind of looked okay. And I think like AA games nowadays look like insane AAA games back in like 10 years ago. But yeah, that's my 2 cents. Absolutely loved Hell Is Us. Genuinely looking forward to seeing how it's going to turn out and how the full game is going to play. And if the demo is anything to go by, at least we will have literally no stutters. Thank you very much, and I'll see you next time.